Risa?
Yeah. I told him I'll be a little bit late, and then I just didn't find it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Baruch Hashem. So, very excited to be back. Very excited that was again the first time we're really getting into it. Now we're really starting to see our kaviyas. Who's serious about growing in tefillah? Now we're starting to really see. No shot at anybody who's not here, but a shot. Baruch Hashem. Kidding. Anyways, so we're continuing. So just a quick summary of kind of where we're holding. So we're picking up where we're actually picking up inside. If you have a safer with you, again, if you don't, no worries at all. You can still list it in. It's totally fine. But if you do, I definitely would still recommend getting one. So we're holding on page Yud Beis and section Gimel right over there. But just on the outside, just coming back to what we've been saying so far. So we're still kind of in the introductory phases, which again, the introductory phases of Sharim B'Tefillah are not just simply pashut like introductory phases that it's just let's just get on with it. Even within Rav Shimshon's Hagdama and Perkei Psicha, as we're going through, is gems. He's setting up the entire blueprint for how. What our job is, what's our avoda, how are we going to grow in tefillah, right? Because the point is, again, how many times is it going to happen that we think we have some sort of derech, we think we're on the way, we know what we're doing, but like we skip steps. Rav Pinkus's main thing that he's talking about here in this Perkei Psicha is do not skip steps, take a deep breath, stop skipping steps, because otherwise you're never gonna find that growth. So that's what he's actually doing in these opening remarks is he's actually giving us tons of depth, and he's really giving us the so to speak the skeleton of the strategy. So this is all essential stuff that he's giving us about how to grow. Like we've spoken about, again, that the ikr foundation of what we're talking about here is the beginning is that tefillah. What we our entire lives, we kind of view tefillah as just another thing. Libet Torah. If we want to grow in Torah, what do? We step up our game, right? We consciously see it. We know the difference between our learning from our first year in yeshiva and our junior year of high school. We could see it. We could visibly see our difference between our learning in junior high school and fourth grade, right? If we don't see a difference between, if you're still learning at the same level in Shana Aleph as you are in fourth grade, that's a problem. It's a very visible issue. Like that's not a thing, right? Because you could physically see how much you've grown. You're able to see like step by step, and you know what you're doing, right? Now you can learn in Hebrew. Before then, you can learn in Hebrew, right? You see the steps. But with tefillah, if we really do a cheshbon and nefesh, really think about it, there's really not such a big distinction between our davening right now, or even when we're in Shana Aleph, and our davening of senior year of high school. And there's the difference between senior year of high school and freshman year. It's all kind of the same blur, if we really, really want to be honest about it, right? And Rapika said that's because we don't put the same effort in tefillah as we do as into Limud Torah. And that's the big issue, and that's why we don't find success in tefillah. He says it's essential to do what we're doing here, which is have a seder. He says if you want to grow in Torah, you got to learn Torah. You got to have a kfiyas for Torah. If you want to grow in tefillah, it doesn't just require just showing up to shul. Obviously, showing up is number one. But anybody who tells you that just by showing up to davening, you're just going to connect and go, he says that's basically ridiculous. It's not going to happen, right? Because davening is avodah shebalev, as it says the Gemara in Tainus on Beis Amud Aleph, right? Davening is an avodah shebalev. It's an emotional thing. You can't just. It doesn't just emotional love and emotional things don't just come, right? It's not just like a simple thing. You have to build it. You have to really work on it. You have to actually go step by step. And he says it's 100% possible. And he says don't be discouraged. He says the reason we're all discouraged right now from our davening is because why? Because we don't feel the connection. We've been doing it our whole lives. We do it 3 times a day. He's like, yeah, but I'll give you some words of comfort. You've never actually tried to daven. Never actually learned how to daven. So don't feel discouraged. You haven't even started trying yet. So let's start trying. And then he says, I give you my word, you'll see. And I give you my word, that we'll see. So that's kind of where we're holding. Again, just kind of giving this overall introduction to the skeleton of how we're supposed to grow in tefillah. It doesn't just click. So if you're holding inside to Yud Beis, section Gimel, we'll continue from there. Yeshna nekuda chashuva shar betoyim ba. There's a big nekuda. There's a fundamental point that many people are mistaken in. Rabim choshvim she'aliyah batfila hi beikar al yedei aliyah begalos ha'adam. This is amazing. Taharas halev, kedusha, the kiruv el HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right? So what do many people think? Many people have this thing. They think that aliyah b'tefillah, that growth in tefillah, is be'ikr. Where is it rooted in? It's rooted in a person's general spirituality, right? Taharas halev. How much a person has taharas halev as a whole, right? How much kedusha a person lives their lives with, right? The kiruv el HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How close a person is to Hashem in general. Right? That's how people just assume that's how the level of tefillah goes up. Avada, the truth is no. That definitely a person, when he's being osek in these high spiritual inyanim that we just mentioned, they're definitely essential, 100%. However, Oskim ba'aliyah betfilah, but us in our lower state, right? So yes, he says for sure for those people those tzaddikim who live their lives in this place of taharas alev and kedusha, yeah, vadai, they live their lives close to Hashem all day.
Doesn't tefillah mean those things?
Good. Hold on. You'll see. Good. Right. But so he says the point is he's saying that people think that all of a sudden like the way that you grow in tefillah is just by being ingrained, and like you're saying, it's being ingrained in all these other things, right? The way to grow in tefillah is your general kedusha level, right? If you raise your general kedusha level, you're going to show up the davening. If you're a rabbi, you're automatically going to show up the davening, ready to go, and because that's what rabbis do. You don't have any struggles, right? Because you're holding in everything else. So I'm saying this sarcastically, obviously, because no. But, you think, oh, you're a rabbi here. You know what he's showing here. Great. So you're going to show up because you have a general kedusha. You have a general tahara. He's saying he says, there are certain people on that level. He says, but for us, and Rafika says for us, including himself, he's speaking for us, right? He says for us, Hakavani he liknos umnos tefillah. Our job is to acquire the skill of tefillah. It's not just going to come by hitting a general kedusha level. It's by actually acquiring the skill of tefillah. Tefillah is a skill. V'knias umanos tefillah he rak aidei is kadeshes zman ve'asmada. And the only way to acquire the skill of tefillah is by putting in the proper time and the proper effort to acquire a skill, right? Haregel va'avoda kasha masis, right? It's by putting in the hard work. The only way to grow in tefillah is by putting in the hard work. Kimo b'limed Torah, similarly with seeing limed Torah, the afal pi, the madregos haTorah, hema madregos shel yonos amitis. Even though we see that, right, madregos haTorah there's very high levels of Torah learning. Aval haderech la'alos besulam aliyah b'Torah le'archenu hi be'ikar alidei amav v'yagia. But for us, in our state, in our level, right, how do we get to those levels? As Yonah just mentioned, how do we get to those levels? The only way is by hard work. It's by toil. The only way to get there is by hard work. Right? We all know that. We see. We've all taken a shot to our egos when we step into Shana Aleph. And we thought we knew a shtickle, knew what we were doing, and then we opened up and we went to Shiur for the first time, and then we opened up Rashi, and then all of a sudden we're like, wow, I really did not know anything, right? That's the idea. That the point is, it comes from hard work, and then we know, and then you see. Belimud harbe dape gemara, by learning many dafe gemara. Shmias harbe svaros yesharos, by learning different svaros, learning the proper derech in the sugya. Shlila svaros akumos, rejecting improper svaros. Right, that's the whole idea. The derech halimud. Ad shekodim darchei halimud, until you understand the sugya. O misraglim bedarchei asvara, until you understand the general way of how does a person learn. How do you learn? That's when it eventually just becomes a part of you. Shel Gemara v'arishonim v'kamo kolu manos sheniknis aidei nisayon. Right? Any sort of trade, any sort of skill in life, right? A mumcha is like the experts. Any way the expert ever became an expert was by taking the steps, by learning the steps and going and putting in the hard work. Kenu b'Torah, it's the same thing b'Torah. V'chenu b'tefillah, and it's no different in tefillah, which we so often, we literally put these things, we put Torah and tefillah in completely different sugyas. We don't even think of it in the same place. We don't think of the same approach. We don't even put them together. But the truth is, they're so intertwined. But tzarich lamo kashos bezmanim rabim ashedarch etfila chodrim lekochos ha'adam v'nasim pshutim etzlo v'chelak mimenu. And we have to put this time, put this effort, and we have to take time until the darch etfila, until the way of tefillah is chodrim, which are mamets, they penetrate lekochos ha'adam, literally into our entire being, into our entire essence. V'nasim pshutim etzlo v'chelak mimenu, and become a part of us. In the most simple sense, it becomes a part of us, right? Just like, again, the more you learn, you see it. You'll watch it. You'll witness it with guys ahead of you. You'll see. And you'll see it as you go throughout the year. The more you learn, the more you're osik in Torah, the more it just becomes natural. The more it just becomes a part of you. The more it just becomes, right, all of a sudden at the beginning of Shana Aleph, when you look at a Rashi, you start to cry because you're like, this is insane. And then all of a sudden, you come to Shana Bet and you look at a Tosas, you start to cry. But you don't cry when you see the Rashi anymore because Rashi's easy now, right? Again, not actually. I'm just giving like a euphemism, but just understanding the concept of it just becomes part of you. You do it every single day, many times, and you put the effort into understanding the words and breaking it down. That's what it is. So ikra tefillah. So now we have to understand. So again, that's general skeleton talk. What is the ikra tefillah? What are we trying to hit? What's our goal? How do we connect to tefillah? What are we trying to see? What are we trying to grab onto? If we want to find something, what's the definition of success in tefillah? What is it? Ikra tefillah. Shehu lehargish sheomed lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitzias v'lehargish kirvaso v'shemitziuso v'kirvaso yizbarach hey mitzios mamoshes. Right? What is he saying? The ikra of tefillah is that a person gets to a place of that he feels mamish, that he's omed lifnei Hashem b'mitzias, in reality. Right? Ulehargish kirvaso, when you actually physically feel closest to Hashem. That's the ikra of tefillah. What you're trying to achieve in tefillah is kirvas Hashem in a real way. That is the goal of tefillah. V'shem mitziuso v'kirvaso yisbarach, and this closeness to Hashem are mitzius mamashis. When we say mamashis, mamash is like a gashmias thing. Yeah, not literally gashmias, because this is we're talking about again. We're not talking about davar gashmias, because this is again we're talking about spiritual things. But for you, from your sense, you feel Hashem lo pachos mikol mitzius pshuta mechreches lanu. That you don't feel Hashem's presence any less than any other sort of physical thing around you. Tzarich lazeh hargal rav ad shenasa v'niyeh chelek mitchushaso ativis. This takes consistency. This takes effort and work, right? Until this becomes just a natural feeling with you. This is the goal of tefillah. This is what tefillah brings you to. People don't think about this. This is what God is, not just an ATM. What tefillah, the goal of tefillah, the goal of Limud Torah. Let's say the goal on a seichalis level, right? Let's just say is to acquire kinyan Torah, knowledge of Torah, knowledge of the Creator, knowledge of Hashem, knowledge of Darchei Hashem, right? All these different things, right? What's the goal of tefillah? To feel, not to know, to feel kirvas Hashem, to take all that and actually feel it. This is what you're going to achieve by growing in tefillah. The growth in tefillah achieves kirvas Hashem in a real physical sense. Now he's going to quote Mesiyas Hasharim. Says the rest of the things that the Mesiyas Hasharim discusses. This is the words of the Mesiyas Hasharim, Beperek Yotes, towards the end, which most people never actually really get to. Everybody knows that, right? Everybody started Mesiyas Hasharim and got up to like the 10th paragraph, and then nobody actually goes for it. Maybe the next couple we got to work on it. I got to see it too. Okay, V'hinei Shlosh Dvarim. Sorry, she's stakel adam. V'yizbonen heitev kidei sheyagia al zos ayira. Right. So Mesiyas Hasharim says there are three things that a person needs to be mistaken, that a person needs to look into, these bonin, to concentrate and think about thoroughly, in order to achieve this yira that we're talking about. This yira is the most pure, beautiful thing in the world. We all want this. Every person in the world craves this. Every Jew, every goy, everybody craves this closeness to God. Everybody craves it. We have an actual derech to it though. And he's saying, how do we get that? Mesiyas Hasharim says, three things we have to contemplate. Ha'echad, number one. Shehu omed mamish lifnei abore izbarashmo, v'nose nimo. That a person, you have to take to heart that a person that you are mamish standing right before Hashem, v'nose nimo. You're going back and forth. You're dishing it back and forth with him. That's what I mean. Note v'nose. You're dishing it back and forth with him. Hashem, what's up? How are you? Oh, I'm good. How are you? Okay, not literally like that, chas v'shalom. But the idea is nose nimo, right? That Hashem is real. You're there speaking to him, and he's speaking to you back. Af al pi she'ein eno shel adam ro'eyu. Af al pi she'ein eno shel adam ro'eyu. Even though your eyes don't see it, even though your physical basar eyes in this world, they don't see it, right? V'tireh ki zeh hu hayoser kasha. These are the words of Mesiyas Hasharim. These are the words of Ramchal. Understand this. This is the most difficult thing. This is one of the most difficult things in the world. She'yitztayer b'lev ha'adam tziyur amiti. To draw in your mind a true image, so to speak, of what's going on in this moment, of you connecting to Hashem on this level. Because because your senses don't help you at all. Chush is the senses. Your five senses don't help you at this at all. You can't physically feel Hashem. You can't physically see Hashem. Yeah.
So you're saying we should picture when Hashem when he's in front of us, it's picture him standing actually in front of us?
No, so good question. So we'll discuss that in a second. Good. So that's a very big question, a very big topic of what you're supposed to think in tefillah, because you're not supposed to chas v'shalom imagine Hashem as like a person.
No, but think of him as
just Hashem.
Hashem, but knowing that he's actually in front of picture him.
Exactly, beautiful. That's what he's saying. The sense, right? Good. I understand what you're asking. Yeah, because there is, and it is a very big topic about what people discuss about what to imagine, but. All of us here, we all kind of know what he's talking about. And this is a crazy thing if you think about it. Because he says the reason why this is so difficult is because of what? Because we can't use our senses to engage and to kind of imagine about Hashem. Because what it says, we can't physically feel Hashem. We can't physically see Hashem. But just like Jack is saying, there's something weird if you really think about it. We're all able, especially even if we've only connected on Yom Kippur, we can all imagine that feeling. We all have those moments in our lives where we imagine and we feel Hashem's closeness to us, right? We just imagine what are we imagining? I don't even know. It's kind of interesting if you think about it. What are you imagining? You're not imagining a person in front of you. What is that? It's a person of everyone, right? But it's so interesting because the point is, and the reason Mesiyas Hasharim is telling you it's so hard is because you're not imagining a person. You're imagining something. And sometimes you connect, sometimes you don't. We're discussing. But the point is, it's a fascinating thing, right? But he's saying this is Mesiyas Hasharim is saying that this is ikr number one. Ikar number one to contemplate is this closeness and trueness of Hashem being with you. Amba, Mishu, Baal Seichel Nachon. Someone who's a Baal Seichel, right? In a way, it has a proper Seichel. Be'me'atis bonus. It only takes a little bit of this thinking, v'simas leiv, and a little bit of attention. Yuchal ligbo belibo amitas hadavar. Even though it's so difficult, any person with a little bit of a Baal Seichel, everybody here is capable. Everybody here is a Baal Seichel. Anybody who's Baal Seichel is able to get to a point with just a little bit of his bonus, a little bit of thought, can get to this place of genuinely feeling like Hashem is with you, in a real sense. This is what tefillah accomplishes. This is the ikar of what we're trying to hit. This is what tefillah is. And number two is what? That what does that mean? That Hashem is sort of dishing it back and forth. Because and to contemplate the concept that before Hashem we plead, and before Hashem we ask. And Akash Baruch Hu hears. He hears us. He listens to us. He hears us. Just like a person, no different than a person talks to their friend, your friend hears you. That's the reality. This is what Mesilas Yesharim is telling us. This is point number 2, ingrained in our mind. These are the points that we're going to have in our mind as we go through, as we grow in tefillah. These are the main points that are constantly going to be on our mind. And these are what's going to build this relationship with Hashem and really build this feeling of closeness to Hashem with us. What's number 3? After you set these 2 things in your mind, right? You have to really contemplate the exaltedness, the romamus of Hashem. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu is loftier than any bracha, any praise. Hashem is beyond anything. He's beyond any concept of perfection. He's perfect beyond perfection. That beyond any comprehension and perfection that our own brains could even begin to start to think about. We could imagine perfection, and then Hashem is way beyond that. Like not even tangibly close to what we could think about. The ode, and furthermore, I'll shiftless ha'adam be'pchisusa. And the next thing to think about, I think I accidentally just separated the 3 categories. Those are part of one over there. But the next thing to think about, again, these are all like the meditation. These are all the things you're supposed to think about. These are all things that we're ingraining into our mind that are going to bring us to this place of Kirbas Hashem. Then the next thing we need to contemplate is how low we are. Al shiflus adam, the lowliness of man, and the reality is that we're just material. We're just filled with materialism. We're just material beings, right? Hashem is lofty beyond lofty, right? We only exist because Hashem wills us to exist at every single second. The second Hashem stops willing us to exist, we're gone, right? We're really nothing. Kol shekein, leficha toim shechei meodo, and all the more so. Now think about all the sins that we do, right? How unworthy are we? Ki al kol ela I efshar shelo yechra libo v'lo yirash beodo mimedaber devarav lefanav yisbarach umazkir b'shmo mishtadel hartos lo ayin sham. Because if we really think about all these things, and even in this last point over here, especially, about how low we are, how can this not put us in a mindset? When we contemplate number 1, of that Hashem is really here. He's real. We think about it. We can think about how we could speak to Him as if we speak to our friend. And how we speak that Hashem is higher than anybody. Right? We think that it looks like to us the world right now. That it looks like that Kim Jong-un is the one who rolls around because he could push a button and launch a nuke. When we realize that Hashem can take that nuke with the palm of his finger, kiviyachol, squash it in the water. Right? We think about how Hashem is beyond. And then we think about, are we even worthy? Right? But yet Hashem is allowing us to stand in front of Him and speak to Him. He says, how can this not bring you, when you contemplate these things before you daven, how can this not bring you into a place of kirvas Hashem? But it's not, and the point is right now, we've all probably heard these things before. But Rav Shimshon's saying right here, he's like, I'm taking you a step further. He's like, you probably always heard these things in terms of just thinking. He says, this is the intro. What we're going to do is we're going to take these things and ingrain them. We're going to make these things part of your nature. That's the goal of tefillah. Making these part of your nature. It's not just during tefillah that we're looking at the exaltedness of Hashem. We feel like Hashem is talking to us. It's all the time. Because that's what's going to bring us to the place of davening. And we achieve that from tefillah. So lahasik kol zeh. How do we succeed in all of this? Even more than just simply, as a whole, be misamek in taharas alev, which is obviously important. Taharas alev is the kedusha and dar, right? Again, be mitar ourselves in all aspects of life. He says that's not just doing that is not going to bring us to this state that we're discussing. We need to be consistent in these things. And review them and think about them. Pam achar pam. Consistently think about them, review them. Whenever you're free, just think about that. Until the way you feel is just by the time you come to tefillah, you feel like you're just standing in front of Hashem. And you don't even need to do so much work. You just feel it. That's the place you get. And I'm telling you right now, this is possible. Again, is it possible to achieve this in a perfected state? No, because again, at the end of the day, we're only who we are on certain levels. But there is a tremendous, tremendous level that every single person is capable of accomplishing. If we instill this, but it goes beyond tefillah. This is Rav Shimshon's point. It goes beyond tefillah. It goes beyond just learning a tefillah say for 3 minutes after tefillah. It goes even beyond just having a shiur tefillah. It goes beyond. It goes from taking the shiur and the limud on tefillah and ingraining that into your life as a whole. The concept of tefillah, the concept of close to Hashem as a whole. Right? And we know, and similarly, right? So in terms of like limud Torah, we know that even just a small piece of knowledge can do what? Even just a small shtickle of knowledge in limud Torah, like a nice little gem, a nice little vort, can open up many different facets of your understanding of the Torah. The same thing with tefillah. And another advice we need to do is just get a bekiyas, just get a general hasaga, a general understanding of tefillah as a whole. That even little small things, small yediyas about tefillah can literally change. And he's going to give examples right now. For example, dugma lakach, an example to what I'm saying. He's saying right now like little shtickles of, like we've all heard little shtickles of Torah that have changed our lives. Where now he's saying little shtickles of tefillah. He says no different. He's like, listen to these. He's like, contemplate these small concepts which are so lofty. Dugma lakach yodeya yadua mikisvei arizal. So we know that's written in the Kisvei Arizal. The Indian Chazaras Hashatz, for example, Yesh ba Maila Atzuma al Tfilas Alachash. Believe it or not, he says, I'm going to give you an example of a little yediyah, just a little shtickle that's going to change how you view davening. This yediyah, I learned this about 8 years ago. I've remembered this since. I quoted it many times. Even when I didn't even remember where I was from. I'm telling you, these little yediyahs stay with you. He says, believe it or not, the Arizal explains that Chazaras Hashatz is even higher than the Tfilah Balachash, which is a shock. What? Right? V'yesh hevda ben shnei chelkei tefillah elu madregos b'li shur v'erech. He says there's a difference between tefillas halachash, the Salish B'Esrei, and Chazal Hashatz that you can't even put in a level, right? Ve'al zeh ramzu Chazal in the Gemara in Brachos. There's a remesis. He's palav lo nena yachsav his palav. If a person davens, he's not answered. What should he do? He should daven again. That's a remes of Chazaras Hashatz. Umefaresh agra, the Vilna Gaon explains, Dainu Chazaras Hashatz. Deba tluya aniyas tefillah. The Gra says that why does the Gemara Bracha say that if you're not answered, you should daven again? Because it's referring to Chazaras Hashatz. Because the whole aniyah of your tefillah, the whole answer of your tefillah is dependent on Chazaras Hashatz. It's how you conduct yourself during Chazaras Hashatz. Crazy, right? All of a sudden.
What does that mean by that?
Good. We'll explain right now. Ve'al zeh nemar hein el kabir lo yimas. And this is where the Gemara Baruch Hu says that Hashem does not despise the tefillas of the kabir, of the rabbim, right? Of the tzibur. V'darsha Chazal, ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu moitz b'tfilas sh'rabbim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will never reject the tefillas of the rabbim. The Chazaras Hashatz b'mahusa he tefillah shal tzibur, because Chazar, like we all know this concept that Hashem will never reject the tefillah of the tzibur, and Chazaras Hashatz in its essence is literally tefillah b'tzibur. Chazan saying out loud, everybody joined together, saying Amen at the same time. Says there's Chazaras Hashatz is so high. Rem is the chozeh, and listen to this idea. This is unbelievable. Rem is the chozeh mal shetfila amidas chova shetei balachash. Bechazaras Hashatz b'kol ram. He says, what's the proof to this? What's the reason I'll say that this is the remez, the allusion to this concept that Chazaras Hashatz is higher than the tefillah balachash? Because tefillah halachash is called tefillah halachash. You say it quietly, you whisper it. While Chazaras Hashatz, you say it out loud. Why? Shetfillah halachash lerov yakarta. Believe it or not, he says, why do we say tefillas halachash, the Salish B'Esrei, quietly? Because it's like a person who's hiding a precious diamond, right? And you want kind of like want to hide it in silence. You don't want, because yachtfu, you don't want the listim, the bandits, to steal it from you, so to speak, the klipas. You don't want the Yetzer Hara, the klipas, to come steal your tefillah. So what do you have to do? You have to whisper it, right? You're hiding it. You don't want the Yetzer Hara to hear you to come steal it, right? It's so precious. But what do we do in Chazaras Hashatz? Dargasa hi kolkach elyona. It's so much higher. That the listim and the kochas harayim, the klipos, the yitzaharas, they can't even touch it. They're not even able. That's how powerful Chazaras Hashatz is. how powerful tefillah b'tzibor is. That what they can't even touch it. So therefore, what do? That we scream it out loud. We don't care because you can't touch us anyways. That's why we say chazal hashatz out loud. Unbelievable. Because you're already literally standing in this ikr dveikos with Hashem. There's no koach to the Yitzhahara. There's no koach to these klipas. They can't touch it. They have nothing because that's how high chazal hashatz is. And so this is the example, right? V'hinei rabbi meitanu. For many of us. Guess what? He says, the truth is, many of us don't know this. Many of us never knew this until this point. This is a kiss for Arizal. The Arizal does not mess around. The Arizal does not just say shtuyo. The Arizal says truth. The Arizal says, wow, yeah.
So just something that you really want to think about it.
Absolutely. We'll discuss. And actually, I'll explain. I'll get through this, then I can explain after. We'll explain more about, as we go forward, especially, how to conduct yourself during Chazal Shas. And I'll actually show you in the Siddur. Like those kavanos you're supposed to have during the brachas, which are 100%, and both double it up, tefillah b'lachash and chazal hashatz, bang. That's why they say speaking conversation during chazal hashatz one of the worst of areas. They say that base kinesios, the shuls are like destroyed around the world because of words that come out during chazal hashatz because of this inning. Yeah.
If you're a baby or kohen and you're washing hands, does that mean you miss out from the brachas every day?
It's a good question. The answer to that in a general sense, you're Levi? You're Levi, right? You are Levi. So the answer in a general sense is that Akol Ba Itar HaKadosh Baruch Hu B'Sayeh. What does that mean? Anybody who comes to do, and Rav Pik is going to talk about this concept later in the Sefer too. If you're being osek in avodas Hashem, if Hashem told you specifically you're a Levi, so therefore your avodah during Chazal Hashem to go wash hands, you can be comfortable and confident that you're not missing out on a thing. In fact, you're reaching in milas also the system. You're not missing out on anything. Hashem knows your ideas. Hashem knows what you're doing, right? That's ultimately like that's like the main ikr to always remember. Anyways, let's try to run through this. Try to finish this piece over here because I know we're running a little bit over just because this is so precious. Many of us never even knew this. Everyone never going to know this. Chazar Sashati Etzel Mechatchila Zman HaMiyuad Le'ayin Be'ezah Sefer Stam Zman Mevuzbuz. It says for most people who never hear this idea of the Arizal Kadosh, it says it's time for us to just pick up a random sefer, kind of glance through, or to waste our time doing something else. Pick out your phone, do whatever you do. Ve'efshar Sheyavuro Shivim Shana Mibli Sheyechavi Mechazar Sashatz Afilu Pamachas. And a person could go by, it's possible 70 years might pass by in a person's life. Right? That's the time that we say that the person's lifespan. Right? Person's lifespan will go by, and he's never had kavanah one time during Chazal Hashatz, missed out on this opportunity every single time. If he hears the brachos, there's amen. Zeh below, his ragshus, miuchedes, meinin abakashos, b'ashvachim, nemarim come. He doesn't have, it's not even shaykh to the connection. He doesn't have any of the argashas or the kavadas you're supposed to have. The kozeh pashut mechusar yediyah v'chosar chinuch v'arega b'parti mehelchet tefillah v'siguloseh. Right? And he says it's just an unfortunate case of how many of us just go our entire life, we miss out on this entire school of Chazar Hashatz, the Koach Chazar Hashatz. It's explicit in the Mishnah Berurah, by the way. We'll go through it. I'm happy to go through it with you guys, even separately. If it's not through the Sefer, but it actually explicitly says in the Mishnah Berurah the kavanah you're supposed to have at the end of every single bracha, and it says in Siddurim. I'll show you. But anyways, mashal lemisha kana mechonis. This is like a mashal. Someone who buys a car, v'nosei about kol yom behilach rishon, and he drives it in first gear his entire life. Kevan shemay olam. Lo limdu oso sheish odi luchim, right? V'yeshnav sharos hagilos mehiros ulahapik mechonios kochos gedolim yoser. Right? This guy gets a brand new sports car and he puts it in low gear. The entire life he's driving this car in low gear, and he's a fool because nobody ever told him. He never went on YouTube and looked how to drive stick. Right? He never learned how to drive stick. So what happens? He thought that this was the true. He thought this was the ikar koach of this car his whole life, right? He's like whipping around in town. He's got his Ray-Bans. He's driving around, passing by Sammy's and T-Neck, trying to look, wave at all the, does the T-Neck guys here get this? Or no, that was just an awkward joke. Okay, Baruch Hashem. Any TVC guys? No, not at all. Okay, anyways, so you guys have the equivalent. Okay, whatever. Anyways, Baruch Hashem. Anyways, he's driving around town, trying to look all cool. He's trying to look. You understand? Keep understands. It's the bit. Okay. Anyways, it's like the joke in T-Neck. It's like when I was growing up in high school, it was like the joke. It's like everybody would always like Sammy's is like this restaurant in T-Neck that's like the ikr, like it's the bagel store, the pizza store, and it's like the most like cringy like hawk scene in the world. and it's like a thing that like all these like high school boys go out of their way, like just like drive by like 10 times, like trying to like get seen. You know, that was just like the bit growing up. So keep it guessing because we were from Teaneck. But the cool Chicago kids like Danny are like, yo, what's wrong with Teaneck kids? Kids are anyways, so right, you go in your whole life, you're driving by, you're trying to look all cool, and you're in first gear, and you actually think that you accomplished it. You're like, yeah, I'm the man. You know, you're driving by, and then but you don't realize how much what. You don't realize you're only going 12 kilometers an hour. You're a fool. Right? That's what he's saying. He says you don't even realize that you have the power to go 10 million times faster than man. You can hit that thing 125 miles an hour. You don't. He says you think you're hitting the Iker Koach because you're driving 12 miles an hour in your brand new Porsche. He says you're a fool. Says you think you're extra cool. You know, you're like, I'm going to push a little bit, and you're going to hit 35 miles an hour. Yeah, boys. 35 miles an hour. And you think that you hit it. You're like, wow, look at the koach I didn't know I had. Wow, now I've hit it. Now I'm good. Now I'm set. About the MS haroeh yavin shekochoseh hamitim b'anifloim shamechonis stumim v'chasumim b'panov. But anyone who has any sort of seichel will clearly see that he's not even touching the potential of this sports car. He's not touching the potential of what he really could be doing, how fast he could be going. Right? The guy's just spending his whole life. He thinks he's the man because he's going like 12 miles an hour. He doesn't realize. Just put the gear a little bit up, and look what you can do. The kol zeh mibei chisaron diakala. And you know why this all is? Because of a simple yediyah he's missing. Not complicated yediyahs. Not complicated yediyahs. Simple yediyahs. Pashut yediyahs. He didn't know how to move the stick. With just a little bit of shtickle of effort, just a little bit here and there, he could have picked up a little bit. But how he could have accomplished it? With the host of koach ve'otzma pikama. How much could he have accomplished? Right? And so the ikar idea here is what we're saying is that all of us are bali seichel. We have the koach for this. The ikar, all these lofty things that we're talking about, it's not as crazy as we think. It's not. It's just because it's saying we spend our whole lives driving 12 miles an hour. And even people go their whole lives without it. It says the people have to be like you guys. The guys who are coming, they want to learn. They have a type of Torah, just a stick here and there, little things. This Indian Chazar Zashatz, it changed. I remember learning the Perkei Psicha of Sharim Betfilah 8 or 9 years ago. This little thing changed how I view Chazar Zashatz for years. Literally, I remember. I don't think I've spoken since then. I remember just like learning this idea. I'd be like, wow, right? These little things, you pick them up. It's ideas kalas. You don't need to know about all the spheros and all the crazy things and all the kesser connects to Tiferes and all. You don't need to know this stuff in order to connect to tefillah. It's the starting from the bottom. It's learning how to drive stick. And when you learn how to drive stick and you start to unlock the koach and you realize how much more koach there is, that's how we go. So Bez Hashem, shkoyach guys. I don't know. I think we went a little bit longer. Stick a bit longer because it was a long section tonight. Bez Hashem, we'll try to keep it down to.